Hello and welcome to my knitting channel here on YouTube. It's called Strikkamegrundt and it's in Norwegian. So if you are here today to see me talk with Justyna Lorkowska, welcome. In a couple of minutes you will see my conversation with her, which was really nice. So thank you and stay tuned. Hei alle sammen. Som dere ser så det kjempekomfortabelt å sitte og prate engelsk. Men jeg har gjort det, ja. Velkommen til Strikkamegrundt, spesialepisode der jeg prater litt om strikking og polske tradisjoner med Justyna Lorkowska. Det var superhyggelig. Gikk selvfølgelig ikke helt etter planen. Til slutt endte vi opp å filme med Zoom og ta opp derfra, og derfor blir det da ikke en samtale der vi sitter, der dere ser oss begge to samtidig, så du hopper fra hvem som prater. Men jeg synes samtalen var utrolig hyggelig, så derfor vil jeg legge ut episoden, selv om den ikke ble akkurat sånn som jeg ønsket. Så ja, jeg håper dere liker den. Så støtt meg her med tomler opp og kommentarer for at jeg var tøff nok til å prate engelsk med en tidligere engelsklærer. Så enjoy Justyna Lorkowska. Hei Justyna!
Hi!
Welcome!
Well, thank you for inviting me. Thank you a lot.
Thank you so much for being a guest in my podcast, Strikkamegrundt.
I have no idea what you just said, but it sounds, I think that strikko is something connected with knitting.
Yes, yes. So in direct translation, it means knit around.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
So, yeah. Welcome and thank you for being my guest. I have invited you here today because I want to learn a bit about Polish knitting tradition, because it's extremely hard to find out information about it. But I have talked about it with you now, and it's not easy to find the information, right?
I mean, as we talked, I haven't looked for it per se, right? But honestly, I cannot think of any culture, like tradition, like when it comes to, for example, Kashubian embroidery, okay? And I can't think of any traditional art of knitting in Polish history. But the truth is that many Polish women, we know how to knit. We very often argue about the correct way of knitting, obviously, because well, as you know, there is this Eastern uncrossed, which means that a lot of the stitches, I mean, all of the stitches are knit through the back loop, and that's very popular in Eastern European countries, like in Estonia.
Yeah.
And then the Western world, so to say, they have this crossed knitting or Western knitting, and in Poland, I've noticed, because I've met many girls, older girls, younger girls, and some of them were taught by their mother, grandmother, somebody from the family, and some of them taught themselves online. So all of them knit, but I think that each person has almost a different style, and is mixing up the methods and so on. But when it comes to the tradition of knitting, I think from my personal experience, I can say that, well, my mother used to knit. My mother taught herself how to, or no, my mother's mom-in-law taught her how to knit. So my grandma, my mom's mom, she couldn't knit.
No.
In my family, in my closest family, I can knit, and somehow it ended up as my job. I ended up, working with knitting. My sister can knit really well, but but she doesn't do anything connected to knitting. And so my mom still also knits. And I'm pretty sure that some of my cousins can also knit. So it's more like a tradition in the family.
Yeah.
And that's something that we learned because we come from this district. I'm from Greater Poland, and everybody in Greater Poland, so to say, they had to knit. So, but I might be wrong. Maybe in some other parts of the country, there is a tradition, not that I know of it.
Yeah.
And right now, I think that it's still really tricky because knitting is becoming very popular, and there are a lot of young girls, young women who learn how to knit. How to knit. But mostly, I think they learn how to do it mostly online, and because it's in, it's popular.
Yeah, really
like
popular.
With those company, yes, and it's really hip to know how to knit.
Yeah.
Or although there is the second extreme, when no, you will never do anything handcrafted, nothing like that, and everything handmade is evil. I would rather spend money. So it's like the extremes. But honestly, I know a lot of the people, and regardless of their age, a lot of them know how to knit, and they can produce at least a scarf.
Yeah.
At schools right now, we don't learn how to knit at all. When I was in elementary school, we had this. It was called in Polish. It's Dette, or it's like sort of like crafts.
Yeah.
And so during this class, we even though we were divided into groups of girls and boys, still both groups had to learn how to mend a sock.
Yeah.
How to sew a little, how to crochet, how to knit, how to cook, how to hammer something, right? But I was in elementary school many years ago, and it was popular then. I mean, it was like the part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
My son does have it, nor my daughter. They don't have it at school, and they only have arts. And the subject that is called technika right now, what I've heard because of the online classes they have at home now, they basically learn about the rules, the traffic, because he's going to have the cyclist card, something like that.
Yeah.
So so he's learning stuff like that, and I asked him so in class, does your teacher teach you how to knit, no, nothing, absolutely nothing. So unfortunately, I know that in Finland, for example, everybody learns how to knit at school.
Yeah.
Do you have the same?
Yes, but in my school, I never taught knitting in my school. So I think it's different, maybe just different because I had that teacher and not that teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but the norm is to learn knitting in school.
Yeah, so there is no norm like that in Poland, unfortunately. So if you want to learn how to knit, you either have to have a friend that's going to teach you. You have to go online and do it on your own, or you can have some kind of books. You can get lots of books, or somebody from your family, like your grandma, your mother, right?
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that can happen. And I was the lucky one. My mother, she used to knit, and she didn't sit me down and say Justyna, I'm going to teach you right now. No, I saw her knitting a lot of the stuff for me and for my sister when we were kids. And sometime around 12 or 13 years, when I was 12 or 13, or maybe even younger, I decided, I went through the stage of making clothes for Barbies.
Yeah.
I was pretty lucky to get a Barbie doll from my aunt, and my sister also had one. And I did two things. I cut most of the skirts and blouses from my mother, like the silk ones, beautiful. And I cut I cut them and I created dresses for my Barbie doll. And I also learned how to crochet. to create like jackets, sweaters, and so on. And first there was crochet. And then I saw that my mom was knitting. She was not using this funny hook. She was using something different. And I just peeked through her shoulder and tried to, imitate what she was doing.
Yeah.
And so I learned how to do the knits. That was it. I think after some time, I learned how to purl. And I created, there was a time when I created some scarves. Obviously, like, they had very crooked, very crooked edges because, the gauge was not important then. Sometimes it got pretty dense. Sometimes it got very loose. And then for a long time, I believed I couldn't knit.
Okay.
My sister then learned how to knit. And I remember her, I think I was about almost like 15, maybe 18. I remember her, she's 3 years younger than me. And she was making sweaters and scarves and everything from those magazines, like, the German ones. We had them translated in our kiosks.
Yeah.
So she was producing lots of wonderful stuff. And I was like, how can you decipher the charts? Because I can't read the charts.
Yeah.
And when I tried to learn how to read the charts, all my work, it looked different. Yeah. And I couldn't understand what was wrong with my knitting.
Okay.
So, I got really frustrated and just like gave up. And then I went to university and I had a very big phase of sewing. And after university, when I got married and I had my first son, I decided like, well, I'm not going to let him, crawl on the floor with his best clothes. So I'm going to make him a jumper. And I'm not a fan of crochet sweaters. I love crochet shawls and tablecloths and everything, but not really sweaters. And so I said like, okay, I have to learn again how to knit. So I went online and I discovered Ravelry. I discovered some forums in Polish. And then when I started knitting, I discovered that my knitting is different. Yeah. And I had no idea why. And trial and error led me to understand that the way I knit is called Eastern uncrossed. So because I copied my mom and nobody taught me, nobody showed me how to do the knit, how to do the purl, the proper one. Yeah. I did on my needles what I thought was correct. Yeah. Ergonomically good for me, let's just say. So I worked all the stitches through the back loop. Yeah. And when you work the stitches, for example, when you work decreases through the back loop, when you have knit two together and SSK, and you work them through the back loop, they get reversed. Yes. Yes. So that's why my charts, when I was knitting lace, everything looked different. I couldn't see, those beautiful shapes of leaves, for example, or flowers. It was reversed. Yeah. And exactly, everything was reversed. Yeah. And then I realized that, well, I can fix it. I just have to know how to do it. So right now I can knit both ways. Okay. I design I write my instructions for the Western knitters, not for me. But when I have them, when I have the stitches on my needles, I knit still my way, the Eastern uncrossed. Yeah. Yes, but I write everything the Western way. Good. Right? Yeah. So as you can see, there was nobody to tell me that this is what you're doing wrong. And I was, so to say, lucky to have a mom who knit. Yeah. But very often I hear right now, first of all, people don't believe me that I have a job, a real job as a knitter. And it takes me a while to explain to people what it is that I'm doing. Yeah. Right. So, but very often there is this misconception that, well, knitting is for old ladies and knitting means, those ugly socks, like when you go to the Tatra Mountains in Poland. Very often people come back from the Tatras with souvenirs, like, very thick socks with coarse wool. Let me show you. Oh, you have those. Exactly. I bought them in Zakopane. Yes, exactly. And are they pleasing to wear?
No.
As a massage.
This is such scratchy yarn, and it feels like Icelandic yarn, the scratchy type. They are, of course, very warm, but I cannot wear them directly on my foot. I have to have another sock under because they are really scratchy.
Yes, so, well, for example, if you want to bring back circulation in your feet, you wear so still, there are a lot of people who believe that this is the knitting, right? Yeah. And when I show them what I do, it's like, no, like, and I write down what I do, and then I sell it to people. No, that's not a job. No. It is.
It is. So, yes, I brought this because I wanted to tell you tell you what I know about Polish knitting. It's nothing because my mother can't knit. She doesn't knit. My sister, she's born in Norway, so she has learned to knit herself, and I learned to knit on YouTube.
Yeah, so you have all the ways, possible ways of learning how to knit.
Exactly. So when I was in Poland, after I started to knit myself, I got interested, of course, in where can I buy wool, where can I buy knitted things. And in Zakopane, we go there sometimes in the winter holidays. And this is what I found. Scratchy socks in really, really rustic, scratchy yarn. And that's it.
Well, the thing right now, it's changing a little bit.
Yeah.
First of all, I think even a couple of years ago, there weren't indie dyers in Poland at all. So the only yarn you could get was either the yarn that they exported, for example, from Drops or somewhere, like the popular yarns manufactured somewhere in the world, and that you can find in any shop in the world. Even earlier, there was, I think it was Elana or something like that produced basically acrylic. Yeah. Right now, you cannot really find this yarn. I don't think you can. And a couple of years ago, there was a boom. And a lot of the indie dyers appeared, Polish indie dyers. Yeah. And I think you can, if you Google online, you can find some names online. And but still, honestly, if you think about a local yarn store in Poland, there are very, very few places that offer just indie dyed yarn.
Yeah.
And I talked, that I actually live very close to one local yarn store, and I talked to the lady that owns it, and I talked about Malabrigo, like, so do you have Malabrigo in stock? And she's like, no, because people don't really buy it.
No,
like regular people, like people from the street that come to the store are looking for a yarn.
Yeah,
they don't really buy it.
No.
Well. One thing is that these yarns, they are to like people in the street, they are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And if you have somebody who's not very, very much focused on knitting, like some people we know, not us, right? So for them, spending, say, I don't know, 80 zlotys in Polish zlotys, that's a lot.
A lot.
Really a lot.
Yeah.
And so for her to buy those yarns, well, she's risking, she might stock them, and then she will end up with lots of yarn that people won't buy, that will be expensive, and then she has to discount them and so on, right? So a lot of those stores still have popular manufactured yarns that you can buy in any store. There aren't many festivals. There is a meeting in Toruń. I think it's hosted in September. I think I saw online somewhere that they are planning. I mean, they were planning to have it last year, but because of the pandemic and everything, it didn't happen. But I think they're going to have it next year. I can't recall the name, honestly, but I can later send you the link to it. So if you want to tell people, but I think it's just like crafts and everything, not only knitting, but crafts and everything. And it's in Warsaw. But basically, that's it.
Yeah.
There are a few people that are appearing, becoming more popular, that have their own tiny flock of sheep or alpacas.
Yeah.
And they spin the yarn, they do everything with the yarn, but it's all very like how do you say it? Not really unique, but like a very small mill, so to say, like tiny. And you have to look for them, really look for them, mostly online, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then there's Zakopane, where the mountaineers, they have their own sheep, but as Poles, we don't really have sheep for wool, right?
No. Because that's my impression that I brought these very, very used slippers. So they're not nice anymore, but these slippers.
I know those.
And that's, I don't know, for me, they are traditional Polish slippers, right?
Yeah.
And this is sheep's wool, right? And I have the sheep's jackets, the leather jackets with, that's pretty much what I have seen of the sheeps in Poland. Not any wool, just products.
Exactly.
So, and that's maybe because there are few sheeps to make wool of.
Another thing is that in Poland, we don't really have mills, like really, really good mills for spinning wool. And I don't think there is anybody adventurous enough to invest in creating such a mill for people, right? Well, and another thing is that if you want to send yarn, if you send some fiber to mill, have it spun, it has to be a very, very big quantity.
Yeah.
And our yarns, they don't really have, they are not meant, let's say, to be worn, our sheep.
Yeah.
And they are very, very coarse. They are very scratchy. A couple of years ago with my ex-husband, we decided to, because we had the same problem with sheep, with yarn in Poland, and we decided to produce our own, so to say, yarn. And I remember I was in a mill, and it was somewhere around, someone outside Łódź, and we got yarn, and in Polish name is really hard to say. It's żeleźnieńska owca. Yes. So we dumbed down it to żelazna wool.
Yes. Perfect.
And it was produced from Polish sheep.
Yeah.
The żelazna sheep, right? And I think there are only 2 flocks of it in Poland.
Okay.
And we did spin it, but it's still like wool. It's nowhere close to merino. No. So you have to be a fan of this wool to enjoy it, right? I like all wools.
Yeah.
So I liked it. But it was really, really hard. And it was, it was super hard to find a mill that would spin it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even if too?
When you compare it to the prices outside Poland, no.
Okay.
But when you it depends on the amount of fiber you spin.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, the more you do to the yarn, the more you want to have it washed, the more you want to have it mixed with any other fiber, because we were thinking of mixing it with merino, for example, to make it softer.
Yeah.
It was impossible to do it in Poland because we would have to import merino from outside Poland. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of duty. That's really a lot.
Yeah.
Or the other option was to send Polish wool outside, which again meant a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because you send it to a mill outside the country. right? So, yeah, and we ended up doing nothing. So there was just the wool, the Polish wool, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can find it online still. It's called Żelazna wool, right? I think I produced a pattern in it, and it was really, really nice. And it was the as close as I got to Polish wool, let's just say. But I know that there are some people, like tiny, like family companies or one-person companies that try to produce something, right? I can also look for it for you.
Are there? Is there much of alpaca in Poland?
Well, we don't really have alpacas like, like sheep.
No.
So all the alpacas are brought to Poland.
Yeah.
But there are people who have them. There are people who have them.
So it's like in Norway.
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine alpacas in Norway, though.
Well, they are, but not a lot. No, there's a few farms. Yeah.
Exactly, just a few farms, and that's it.
Only one farm and mill and producer of merino wool in Norway. Only one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about Norway? Do you have lots of mills there and producers of yarn?
Well, lots. Yeah, it's a small country, but to be in comparison to a small country, there's a lot, I think, because we're 5 million in Norway. And we have big mills. Yeah. So Norwegian wool is very good and very popular also outside of Norway.
That's good. That's really good. So I'm getting darker. I'm just going to move the phone a bit so I'm not that dark.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Justyna, I can't remember or if I did introduce you. Justyna Lorkowska, designer.
Yes, Justyna Lorkowska.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you go from being a teacher to a full-time designer?
Honestly, from time to time, I still sit down in my flat. It's like, how did I come from this to this? Well, I partly told you, my pops are here. Yeah. I partly told you that, I had my son. So I'm looking for the best spot so you can see me.
It's good there. It's good there. Yeah.
Okay. So partly because, I had kids and I was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And I know English and I know knitting. And I'm very, very terrible at following other people's instructions. And and I started writing the instructions myself. And everything I learned from knitting, from online knitting, I tried to transform to patterns. And, once a teacher, always a teacher. So I try to at least teach people who knit my stuff to teach them a little bit of something, to show them some kind of a fun construction or how to shape a garment, how to create this or that. And I try to make my patterns easy to read. And I had opinions like, it shows that you are a teacher. Yeah. Which is good. I treat it as a compliment. And you know what? And there was a moment when I used to still teach English and knit.
Yeah.
When my kids were like very young, and knitting somehow became started to taking up more and more space in my life. And I went to my ex-boss at a language school, and I told him, like, well, I have to resign from one work, and I think I'm going to resign from teaching English. And he was like, are you resigning from a real job to knit? Like, yes.
Well, I can imagine.
Are you sure?
Yes.
That was his reaction.
I can imagine that, because in Poland, it's not, what's the word?
Common, probably common.
Well, yeah, but it's you're lucky if you have a job, a steady job. So I can understand that he was
thinking knitting.
Yeah, and the other thing, like knitting, really knitting. I would understand if you went to a shop to be a shop assistant or a secretary or something. Knitting. Yeah, and I somehow, it became I decided to risk it, and it's working fine.
Yeah.
And sometimes I am super busy and I work a lot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have the privilege to be mom that's with my kids.
Yeah.
And when they need me, I'm home. Basically, I'm home all the time.
Yeah.
So this is I think this is the best part. But at the same time, it's really hard to find a balance, because there are moments when life happens, family life happens, but there is still a deadline.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that ends up, working at night.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is that English helped me a lot. Yeah. And that's what I tell my kids, like, learn English. There are a couple of things you have to know in your life. You have to know how to read, write, drive a car, a language, and swim.
Yeah.
So these are the things you have to know in life. Yeah. And the rest is, you will make do without the rest.
I 100% agree with you. Yes. Everything. Good. So you are fairly big on Instagram and Facebook. You have on Instagram, you have 36,000 followers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somehow Facebook, it happened.
I checked, it was 32,000 followers on Facebook. Do you feel sometimes that you have a job that, a full-time job?
Yes. Yes, it is, because, the thing is, you know what is, I think it's called FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's really tricky, because, for everybody in the world, the day is only 24 hours.
Yeah.
And you have kids, you have to look around the house, you have to knit, you have to do some kind of computer work. And at the same time, you still have to go online to social media, not only post your stuff, but see what is happening in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it does take a lot of time.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it is actually work. When you treat it seriously, when you treat your Instagram account or Facebook account, when you treat it seriously, it grows.
Yeah.
But it involves work. And I never believed in, giving this job to somebody else who would write for me, who would answer for me, etc. So in all the media, if there is a post, it's me.
Yeah.
It's not written by my, assistant, somebody else. It's always written or edited by me.
Yeah.
And it is work. It is work. You have to remember, like, that when you have
you are also the model.
Yes. But there is a different story for that. I like being a model. I mean, why am I a model? I'm a model because I want to show people that my hand knits can be worn on a human.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I like to show, a real body, like, with boobs and a little bit of here and there, and etc. And my weight changes constantly, from being very skinny when I was treating Lyme, to being postpartum. So I have different sizes. If you go to my pictures, like, oh, she's big again, oh, she's small, she's big, she's small. Yeah, because the pictures were taken during all my life, and most of the stuff, obviously, it can be still worn by me, no matter the size. But I like to show me that I'm a person, real person, and not some robot or some model.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you have something modeled by somebody else and professional photography, it's really great. but people want to see a real person, and they want to relate to a real person, right?
Yes. And I think that's my favorite thing about your Instagram, that you are the model. And exactly like you said, sometimes postpartum, sometimes skinny, and you show that we in life, we change all the time.
Yes.
And it's okay. And that's why we can knit for ourselves, because we knit for our body, and I like it. Yeah.
I think it's come with age. I mean, I'm 41, almost 40. I will be 42 in December. And at 41, I started breastfeeding again because of my baby.
Yeah.
And sometime around Easter, I was at my parents, and I met with my sister. And she's following me on Instagram, and I posted a picture of me breastfeeding. And my sister came to me like, Justyna, what picture did you post on Instagram? Wow, you're so brave. I was like, no, I'm not brave. I mean, it's just breastfeeding. You can't see my boob or anything. Like, no, you don't have your makeup on. I'm like, okay. It's not the breastfeeding that was a problem. I don't have my makeup on. Yeah. Like, Marta, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, Jesus no Christ, one does, really. We just think that they do. Yeah. Okay. So that's great. I have a fun little thing. 5 quick questions that you have to answer without not thinking too much. Okay? Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So, your favorite fiber?
Merino.
Coke without or with sugar?
Now without. Postpartum is
Okay, so this is a question I got from, I got inspired from another account. So this is a dilemma. Only knit for babies or children for the rest of your knitting life, or only knit for 10 minutes a day, but you can knit whatever you want?
Only knit for 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to make babies all the time. No, I'm done.
Yeah. Me too.
No.
Me too. Yeah. So, no more tattoos or no more shawl knitting?
No more shawl knitting.
Really?
I'm really angry I'm really angry at the pandemic, because in March, when everything burst, I had an appointment to have a horse tattoo on my thigh, to have it tattooed by a really talented guy here in Toruń.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to go to the appointment, and just inform me like, well, there is pandemic, and then I got pregnant.
Yeah.
So it's not really advised to have a tattoo done when you're pregnant.
No.
And now I'm just waiting to stop breastfeeding. And yes, tattoos are my soft spot.
Oh.
Yes. I do have a lot of shawls now, to be fair. So, and I don't really wear them all. I mean, I wear like one for 2 years.
Yeah.
I just produce them. But no tattoos. I would rather stick with the twos. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so for holidays, always go to the same place outside of Poland, or go wherever you want to go in Poland for every vacation?
Go wherever you want to go in Poland, I think.
Yeah.
Although I do end up going to the same place in Poland.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just realized, I mean, I was talking up a couple of days ago, I just realized that when I get used to something, I just stick to it. Like with food, I go to a restaurant and buy the same dish every time I go to this restaurant. It's not like I hate everything else on the menu.
Yeah.
It's like, if I like something, I want to enjoy it every time I go somewhere.
Yeah. And you know what you get, right?
Yes. The thing about Poland is that there are still lots of places I haven't seen in Poland, like Zakopane. Believe it or not, I haven't been to Zakopane. Yeah.
We love it there.
So, yeah. Well, I have a plan to go there. I mean, there are lots of places outside the country that I would love to go. I'd like to go travel east, definitely, and south. But there are still many, many, many spots in Poland that I don't know, and I would like to go there.
Yeah. I told my husband, he's Norwegian, and I told him that I want at least once have a Polish vacation, travel around the Poland in car, because I haven't seen a lot either. I'm from Gdynia, so we have been to Gdynia and Sopot and Gdańsk and Krakow and Warsaw and Zakopane and Łódź, and that's it.
Yeah, but these are like big places, right? Big town, big cities. I mean, if you can call any place in Poland a city.
Yeah.
But there are also like very tiny, spots in Poland that you should see, because there is this view or this lake or something, right? So, last summer, for example, thanks to my friend, I discovered a really, really nice lake. And I went with my kids there for a week, and there was no internet reception there. Yes, it was the best week that we had. Yeah. And we left, there was like a cabin by a lake, and we left the cabin. We had like 5 minutes, or even shorter, or even 2 minutes walk to the lake, and the lake was pretty shallow. It was very long and shallow, so kids, I mean, they got wrinkled at the end of the day. So they got in the water at 9 a.m. and they left at 9 p.m. and came out all wrinkled.
Fantastic.
And it was really, really great. And it's just like a spot in Poland that you wouldn't know about I didn't know about it, and I just learned about it from my friend who had a cabin there, and she was like, yeah, this year we're not going there, so we're going to rent it to friends, so maybe Justyna, you would like to go. I was like, hell yeah. I want to go. And we rested a lot. It was wonderful.
It is a big country, right? So there are many big and small places to see that you don't see on TV or social media.
Exactly.
I think it's
exactly.
Okay, one last thing, I think, because we have concluded that Poland really doesn't have old knitting traditions, right?
Well, we have concluded that I know nothing about it.
But I can ask you, because you mentioned that you have knitting books from Poland.
Yes.
So what are their designs, or just?
Well, honestly, I got some books from my mom, and I think I have some actually in here.
Yeah.
Like, I know it says Babcina Robótki, so it's like, the knits of my grandma.
Yeah.
And I can show you, I mean, these are books that have like this and that. So you have a little bit of embroidery, a little bit of knitting, like making pom-poms and things like that.
Yeah.
And these are very, very old books. I mean, this book was published in 1977.
Yeah.
And last time when I was at my mom's, I think she went through all her library and she found books like that. And she's like, this is just enough for you because I know you're going to use it. So I do have books like that. Janina na różne okazje. So it means knitwear for different occasions.
Yeah.
This screams of deep communism, as you can see. So I have books like that, and it actually has different types of instructions, and I do have some books that are going to teach you a little bit about knitting. Like here you have Ściegi na drutach, which is knitting patterns.
Yeah.
And you have different knitting patterns
stitches.
So it's something different stitch patterns. So it's something like, the Knitter's Almanac, or what's the name of that book? I can't see the title because everything almost like Elizabeth Zimmerman's books.
Yeah.
But in Polish, written by Polish people. But these books are really old. And there are some reprints probably at bookstores. This one is from 1985.
Yeah.
And so I have books like that. Another one, this is crochet patterns.
Yeah.
Stitch patterns, right? So all things crochet, as you can learn, a lot of words.
Yeah.
So I do have books like that, and I'm sure that you can find them in a library. You can find them in somebody's house somewhere. And I haven't looked for them in a bookstore though, because I have them. I'm sure that there might be some reprints, and so these are the books that I have. But most of the books that I collect right now are books in English or Japanese also, because the Japanese stitch patterns, they are written in the universal language of knitters, which is charts.
Right.
So you don't have to know Japanese to be able to make anything from those books. Right. But I do have a book, and I know this lady, she was in Poland. She was in Toruń, which is called Robótki na paluszkach. So it's knitting with your fingers, and it's really cool for kids. I bought it for my daughter, actually. And that lady is in Poland, and her name is Barbara Palewicz-Ryży, and the second one is Karolina Kuska-Wrodarczyk. So this is something, and this book actually is new. It was published in 2017.
Wow, so it's new, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you can find this girl online on YouTube. And these are knitting with your fingers.
Yeah.
And everything is in Polish, and it's really cool for kids, right? So I bought it for my daughter, actually.
Yeah, it's really cool, yeah. I have been searching, right? I told you, I have been Googling and searching for Polish knitting on Google, on YouTube. I haven't found anything. Like in Norway, if I want to learn how to purl, because I want to learn to knit and I want to learn to purl. So I will find a video on YouTube, either in Norwegian or English or Swedish, Scandinavian, but not in Polish. Nothing.
I think when we knit like the Western girls, right? Like Western knitting. So any video that you have online on YouTube with Western knits and pearls would be fine. But there are a couple of people online on YouTube that teach how to knit. I'm sure that they're also on Instagram. And they definitely write in Polish. A lot of the stuff they publish in Polish. Right. There is a girl whose name is Agata Garbowska. She might be angry with me. I can't remember her name. I mean, very often people misspell it. Yeah. But you can find her on YouTube as Kurkoko TV. I can also send you the name later on. Yeah, and she has a lot of tutorials. I know that she was teaching people how to bead, how to crochet, and probably how to knit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really, really good, because I want to just see what it's about, because I have discovered you.
I mean, it's not different
about you.
It's not different than what other people, people in the West do. It's not different. It's the same knits, the same pearls.
Just my impression was that no one in Poland knits, but I know that they do, because like you, a designer, and I follow some knitters, Polish knitters on Instagram, so I know they do, but it seems like it's rare.
Well, it's definitely rarer than outside of Poland.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We're gonna finish, but I just wanted to tell you that today I bought a pattern named Kith.
Oh, yay, cool.
How do you pronounce it? Kith. Yeah.
Yes, it's like it's like a relative.
Yeah.
Kith means relative.
I love the pattern and I want to try it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have on my needles close to you, but I have gotten so much. But it's a beautiful pattern and it's free.
Thank you. Yes, it is free and it will always be free.
Yeah. So just, you can tell me before we quit, why do you sometimes have patterns for free?
First of all, because, there are a couple of reasons. First, because not everybody can afford patterns. That's the first thing. And when I started knitting, I also liked to knit for free. I liked knitting free patterns. And so from time to time, I like to give something from me to people. So I publish free patterns, and they don't always have to be like super simple, something that nobody wants to, I don't know, spend time on.
Yeah.
No, I like to, it doesn't matter. So if there is something that I think people are going to like and are going to enjoy, that's going to teach them something really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I can afford that, I publish this for free.
Yeah.
Another thing is that it's like a sample of the way I make my patterns. So people can see how I work, what is it that I do in my patterns, how I write instructions. It's also, like being out there. So sort of an advertisement of yourself.
Yeah.
And I like giving people, stuff to people.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is my work. So some of the patterns that I spend a lot of time on, I have to earn a living, right? I have to provide for my kids, and this is my work. But from time to time, I like to give something to people, right? So they can enjoy, and not everybody can afford everything.
No.
So that's why that's why I sometimes have, like promotions, so that people who, for example, they don't want to spend a lot of money, or they have a little bit of money to spend on their hobby, they can afford also my work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good, because I have seen some free patterns that are pretty bad. And like you say, I don't know, is this a designer bad at writing patterns, or is it just this pattern because it's free? So I like that what you're telling me now, that you have a normal pattern that you have used your time and effort in, and it's for free. So you use it as advertisement and to show people what kind of a designer you are.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And not everybody can afford everything. I was there too, so don't worry.
Yeah.
And I was also, a young mom and learning how to knit. And most of the designs for like very young kids, they are free. Yeah. Because I know that if you have to choose between having money for a diaper or a knitting pattern, I would rather you buy the diaper. And so those those designs that are for very small kids, most of them are free.
Yeah.
Because well, kids are expensive.
Oh,
so
yes.
I've been there. So
yeah, we know.
Yeah,
that's great. So thank you so much for being my guest here on my
Thank you for
podcast.
having me. It was really, really cool conversation.
I think so too. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And for those of the viewers that want to see more about you, maybe they can go and look at Fruity Knitting Podcast episode 27, right?
I don't remember the number of episodes, but yes, I was at Fruity Knitting.
Yeah.
Or you can, if you want to, I have a fresh website. It's called justynaknits.com. And if you go to About, there is a list of different interviews that podcasts and so on that I participated in. You're going to be there too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So this is going to be in English because most of my viewers are from Scandinavia. Most Norwegian and some Swedish and Danish. So this is in Norwegian, so everyone in the world can see.
Yay!
Yeah, I really enjoyed our conversation here. My bad English and your perfect English.
No. Your English is not bad and my English is not perfect. No, these are all lies.
That's good. So thank you so much. And we'll maybe talk sometime.
Yes, thank you so much and have a great evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.